Welcome back here with us on Overdrive. Now, the Land Rover Defender 90 might not be your pick if you're looking for an extremely luxurious SUV that can also tackle hardcore off-road terrain. But it's definitely one that offers a lot of fun.
The Defender 90 just doesn't make any sense when the 110 exists. For not a lot more money, you get to carry 2 more people, a lot more luggage, more weight on the roof rack, and it does everything that the 90 does, well, almost, because the 90 can get you to places like this, where a bigger SUV is just too unwieldy. And that's why I want the 90. And now what I mean by that is, I was able to just reverse the 90 onto this patch of dry rock in the middle of this stream, almost river. No issues. Now with a larger SUV, yeah, it would require a little more commitment, especially reversing it down a tight trail like this that's leading to the river's edge. But the 90, no problem whatsoever.
But don't just take my word on what makes the 90 special. We've got someone who's been off-roading since before I was even born. Here's Bob Rupani's take on it.
So Bob, what do you think? Short wheelbase versus long wheelbase?
The short wheelbase any day, Simran.
So you've just about gotten the car, just about started driving it, and I can see that smile on your face already.
You know, I believe SUVs are meant to go off-road, yeah? And these days, very few go off-road, and even, mainly the crossovers and stuff like that, they don't have serious off-roading ability. This car is an exception. The Jeep Wrangler, of course, is. I think these are the last 2 of the endangered species of, serious 4-wheel drives left. So, yeah, I'm enjoying it.
So, what I'm still really finding hard to come to terms with is that the 110 does so much of what the 90 does. But that short wheelbase magic. The wheelbase of this is nearly 500 millimeters shorter than the 110. Your approach and departure are the same, breakover is a little different. But you really feel that difference in the steering, don't you?
Of course, and see, 2 things to me make this my choice, the short wheelbase, the 90 over the others, is because one, it's lighter. I think it's 125 kilos lighter. But the most important thing is that this is shorter. I think the turning circle is significantly better in this also compared to
11.4 meters versus 12.8, if I recall correctly. And in stuff like this, when you're green landing, you don't really realize how important that small SUV is, no?
This is what I'm saying, if you're off-roading in the desert and open plains and stuff like that, open areas, it doesn't matter so much. But in a country like ours, where we have all these forested trails and things like that, like where we are driving now, you want the turning circle to be shorter. And this gives it that nimbleness, the agility.
The amount of length that the entire car is shorter, almost all of it is in the wheelbase. So that's a huge difference.
And that's what makes this so much more capable off-road, so much more enjoyable. When you have a big car, at the end of the day, these are expensive SUVs. You don't want to go bashing around and, hitting the back end on a branch that's sticking out and things like that. So the less length you're carrying behind you, the more enjoyable your drive off-road is.
Like the rest of the Defender range, the 90 is also available with a choice of 2-litre petrol 4-cylinder, 3-litre petrol and diesel 6-cylinder and a 5-litre V8. We're driving the P300, the 2-litre with 300 PS and 400 Nm torque, mated to an 8-speed automatic permanent all-wheel drive and a 2-speed transfer case.
Now with the 90 being about 2 passengers lighter than the 110, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't feel the difference between the way the engine in this responds versus the engine in that. Now, we have driven the P300 variant in both, and this feels just
a little more sprightly. We did complain that gearbox was very relaxed in the 110. And while it still is relaxed over here, your responses seem like they result in a more immediate reaction, and that's okay. Another area where there definitely is a difference in favor of the 110 is the ride quality. It just feels like it's a little more compliant. 90 might feel a little crashy at low speeds over speed breakers, but once the speeds rise to about 50, 60, it's pretty much smooth sailing. So again, the Defender experience in the P300 remains largely the same, but I think the biggest difference comes when you're driving this thing in the city. The 110 can prove to be quite a handful to navigate at times. 90, no such issues. It just feels a lot more chuckable, even though there is quite a bit of body roll that will probably dissuade you from really taking corners a little too fast. This isn't a corner cover. It's meant to be an enthusiast-oriented off-roader, and like we've seen, it can do just so much. The Defender 90 takes the Hot Wheels styling on the Defender range even further with its more compact proportions. Three-door cars or SUVs are a rare sight in India, and the 90 automatically stands out and draws attention like not much else on the road can. The 90 is pretty much identical inside, with the same levels of plushness, craftsmanship, comfort and innovation in design and tech. A larger touchscreen is optional, but we like the look of the recessed screen here. The UI, as always, is great to use, and all the tech does feel like it helps rather than hinders. Back here and in place, it's not as compromised as you would think. Sure, you are sat a little knees up, but there is a ton of knee room and there's a ton of headroom. It is a comfortable place. You've got flip-up headrests, you've got multiple charging points and more than enough space to keep your stuff. Behind this massive heavy tailgate though, you'd find about as much boot space as you would in a full-size 3-row SUV, 231 liters dry. You can flip the seats, of course, and that helps liberate a lot more room. Then you're limited in the number of passengers you can carry, and not everybody wants to do that. Ultimately, the Defender 90 shouldn't make sense as a luxury off-roader because it does ask you to make compromises in space, and that's a luxury most people wouldn't want to lose. But it does possess that intangible quality of being fun and plush, which is hard to put a price tag on. And that makes it a very special sort of SUV, one that many won't understand, but when you do, you know you'll want one really, really bad.
Well, with that, it's time for us to wrap up this week's edition of Overdrive. But remember, you can stay in touch with the team through Facebook, Twitter, as well as YouTube. And you can follow our latest updates on Instagram. We'll see you next week. Until then, drive and ride safe.